Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, Malcontents. My name is David. I am the Malcontent, and welcome to another edition of Malcontentment Happy Hour. Today is Thursday, October 28th, 2021. We're almost to 2022. It's not as bad as 2020. At least this hasn't felt like 15 years. This has only felt like 5 years. Hello, everybody. Joseph, Carrie, Joy, Carla, Dave, Kayla, Renee, and then others who are lurking in the shadows. There is a lot to cover tonight. If you follow our TikTok channel, you might have noticed that Studio 3 is set up back again. There's actually TikToks getting filmed in Studio 3. Just wasn't quite there because it's different equipment to do happy hour. We just weren't quite there. But I believe, fingers crossed, that this is the last show in Studio 1 unless we have breaking news. I believe we will be back in Studio 3 as of Monday. Doors in the house. Mods and admins are checking in the house. Wendy's in the house. We got a lot to cover. There's so much to cover tonight. And so we're just going to go right into it. First thing we're going to talk about is breaking news that is coming out of the Department of Justice and Shoreline, Washington. If you've been following us, then you know, Stephanie, hello. If you've been following us, you know, September 30, 2020, Black Coffee Northwest and Shoreline was firebombed. Multiple Molotov cocktails were thrown at the building. It was caught on security camera, and there has not, right, that happened over a year ago. There's been no arrests. We have kind of constantly poked and gone, hey, wow, people got arrested for breaking windows at Starbucks like that, but nothing's going on with Black Coffee Northwest, despite, video evidence and other evidence that's there. The Department of Justice has made 2 arrests today. 2 brothers have been arrested. I should have had more notes pulled up for this. I apologize. This is like a crazy news cycle tonight because we have a borderline French toast emergency. If you don't know what a French toast emergency is, we'll explain that in a little bit. But we have like a borderline French toast emergency weather event tonight. We have the black coffee event and trying to sputter out the COVID information. And I'm supporting 3 clients at the marketing agency right now. So it's been a little bit of a crazy day, and I don't have like everything pulled together. Taylor LeMay Rice, 23, Daniel LeMay Rice, 21. They both entered pleas of not guilty. They are both facing charges of unlawful possession of a destructive device. In this case, destructive device is Molotov cocktail. They both face up to 10 years in prison each. and they have been released on personal recognizance. Federal investigators do not believe that this incident was racially motivated or actually even targeted Black Coffee Northwest. The story, if the story susses out, the story's kind of really. So apparently, according to the Department of Justice, one of the brothers who was arrested was in a dispute with the prior business, not Black Coffee Northwest, but the prior business that was in that building over their vehicle being towed, and that had happened a few months earlier. Now, when the firebombing happened, the signs for the old business were still up. Black Coffee did not have signage up for their business. They had announced that they would be opening in that location. I think they were 2-ish weeks away or 10 days away. I know the firebombing delayed things about maybe 2 weeks on the opening. There was minimal damage. It was all to the outside of the building. But again, 2 arrested, 2 brothers. I wasn't able to dive into this enough to go they're from, but I'm pretty sure I know where they're from. But pretty sure it's not good enough. Taylor LeMay Rice, 23. Daniel LeMay Rice, 21. And they have both entered pleas of not guilty. Their next hearing in federal court will be on January 3rd, 2021. For those who may are interested, it'll be very interesting to see how this compares to the attempted arson at the East Precinct. Not the one where the individual put the quick-setting concrete, but the one that happened on June 10th, which is actually even a lesser incident, because in that incident, that individual just put kind of like a small pile of rags, lit it on fire after pouring what people on the scene said was diesel fuel, because we were in CHOP and talking to people. We went there. We were actually there the day after it happened. We walked. You could only see like a little tiny burn spot on the ground. It's going to be worth watching this case. And it's really going to be worth watching to see, how long, if they're, A, will they be found guilty? And B, it'll be interesting to see what kind of charges, not charges, but what sentence they get. It'll be very interesting benchmarking, I believe. Considering that this is attempted arson, minimal damage to building, and at least for the little bit we know at the moment, similar age, everything else. So it'll be interesting to just see how this plays out in the courts. Lori, the way that they were identified was, this is coming from the Justice Department, I'm going to use their language, extensive investigation, the security camera video, and examination of cell phone records. That's what the Department of Justice had to say. And that this was a lengthy and extensive process between federal and local authorities. Technically, Shoreline does not have a police department. And I know, so yes, they do. There's a Shoreline. They're contracted officers with King County. So yes, they have a police department. They're King County officers. And it's a felony investigation. So that would have probably been the King County Sheriff's Department doing that, not the Shoreline Police, but they are facing federal charges. So that's what's going on. So it took 1 year, 27 days. Frankly, I'm a little surprised because I had kind of like, nothing's going to happen with this. It's been a year. So pretty big news out of there. Biden administration has announced that they have cut some deal that Sinema and Manchin haven't shit on yet, to be really blunt about it. That includes $1.75 trillion of, as far as I could tell, looking on the surface, a bunch of stuff that almost nobody wants. It's like this package in the big scheme of things is such a nothing burger. Yes, there's about a $500 million that is going towards you could say going towards the Green New Deal. That's a huge stretch to say that the dollars, but yeah, there's about a $500 million has been set aside for green energy initiatives. And building codes and addressing climate change. It's a substantial chunk of money, right? $500 billion is nothing to sneeze at. Family leave, yeah, that didn't happen. Parental leave, yeah, that didn't happen. Billionaire tax, yeah, that didn't happen. Rolling back the Trump tax cuts or adjusting anything in the tax Trump cuts, for businesses with a high, yeah, that didn't happen either. I mean, it's kind of like a big flippin', it's not much there. It's just kind of worth mentioning at this point. I mean, I'm like, yay, whatever. All cats are beautiful. Dora, super surprised too that there was an arrest in there. It's such a friggin' nothing burger package. And I mean, it's like literally nobody wants it. Joe Manchin was like holding up this whole friggin' packet. I get it. Manchin making a lot of money from the energy industry. When you look under the hood, senators and Congress critters, one, we need term limits. Two, when you're a senator or a Congress critter, you should not be investing in the stock market. And no LLC, I'm just going to have my broker. I'm going to set it up in a trust. No. You cash your cards out and you're out. And of course, we wouldn't get anybody that would friggin' want to run then at that point. Manchin, as he's become a senator, has become stupid wealthy from it in energy and pharmaceuticals. And Manchin fought against this bill. Over 14,000 coal mining jobs in West Virginia that are dead end. They are freaking dead end. China at this point is so over coal that they're to the point of we're going to do rolling blackouts. We are not firing up any more friggin' coal plants. We're not. We're going to force the issue. Now, we can debate the wisdom of this all day long if we want. But coal's going away. I mean, this is like trying to save pewter or VCRs or buggy whips, or we've got to save dial-up modems in CompuServe. It's going to be the end of the world. And I've talked about this multiple times. I'm going to touch on it very briefly. One of the biggest things holding back coal mining in West Virginia is not regulations. It is not export rules. It is not lack of rail lines to get stuff to ports. It is the shitty, crumbling infrastructure within the state of West Virginia itself. Infrastructure that Trump, when he was running for president, promised he was going to fix and did absolutely nothing to address. But Barack Obama said he was going to do it. George Bush said he was going to do it. Bill Clinton said he was going to do it. And there's been nothing invested in that. And there are literally coal mines that are shut down in West Virginia. Not because it's too expensive or regulations or can't find the workers or the rules. They literally, the roads are so bad that the trucks cannot go in and out to bring the coals to a rail transit location to move it out. But Manchin fought really hard for those going away jobs. Oh, and by the way, if you look at the robots are, remember 10 years ago, these minimum wage people, they should just be grateful they have a job. You make a minimum wage because the robots are coming. Robots are coming. They're gonna be the truck drivers. They're gonna be the taxi drivers. They're gonna make your burgers and your Kentucky Fried Chicken and your tacos, and they're just gonna make them all go away. Did you see? They've put in the grocery stores, the self-checkouts, and they have the little kiosks in the McDonald's where you go up and you just do the thing and see that's the first step. Yeah, and the robots are nowhere around here. And the robots aren't friggin' coming anytime soon. But do you know one industry where the robots not only are coming, but there's already a lot of robots? It's mining. Mechanization and robotics is just totally changing the game in mining because robots run 24 hours. Robots, if there's a cave in, if there's toxic gas, if there's an explosion, you lose a robot. Robots don't file for disability. Robots don't file for workman's comp. Robots don't form unions. And robots have a really straightforward job if they're working in mining. You dig rock, you pack up the rock, and you roll the rock back up to the surface. And if you do some research, one of the fastest areas where the robots are just gutting jobs, it's mining. All right, enough about the package. Moving on. If you see my eyes moving over, it's because I'm looking at the notes. Roger, we need VCRs. Spam those hearts. Go ahead and spam those hearts. Let those mods and admins know that you love the hard work that they're doing, and they bust their friggin' asses, I'll tell you. We try to keep this a mostly
Chud. It's a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Chud-free zone. Malcontent news, now mostly chud-free. Let's see. We've got, and we've talked about that. We talked about the breaking news and black coffee. Let's talk about the weather. Normally, I save the weather for last, but we're going to go ahead and dive into that. We're having a very significant rain event tonight. There is a urban and small stream flood advisory. It is for multiple counties. It's basically for all of Puget Sound. Some areas have already received up to an inch of rain, and between now and about 6 in the morning, another 1 to 2 inches of rain is going to fall. So 1 to 3 inches of rain in 12 hours in the Puget Sound lowlands, that's a lot of rain. If you're the national audience and like you're living in Houston, like 3 inches of rain, we get that in a thunderstorm in an hour sometimes, and everything floods for 30 minutes and the water goes. This is Seattle. It rains all the time. It doesn't rain like this in Seattle. What we get drippy, drizzly, although it's dumping a lot more in the last 20 years than what it did previously, climate change. And we're going to get dumped on tonight. So what does that mean? If you're going to be out and about driving tonight, slow it down. Known trouble spots. So like if I think of a known trouble spot, one of the first thing that comes to mind is, you know what? I'm going to have to tech issue for just 1 second. I think I had some Makarov hair on my face, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to scratch my face. If I think of known trouble spots, I-5 North coming up past, I just talked about Houston, and all of a sudden I have Creed's Point Mall in my brain, which is geographically, it would be kind of in the same spot of like exit 172 on I-5. But if you're heading I-5 North, I know there's always standing water over there in the left lane, and I know that the HOV lane in that area is a frickin' dumpster fire. Renton S-curves can get, anywhere the roads are heavily rutted. You get in some of the older sections of 405. You get down in some of the sections of 167 they haven't repaved yet, and they've got the truck ruts. Those areas could get standing water. I think of another area, if I think really local, Kirkland. One area that steps out of my mind is 120th in front of Fred Meyer. This is the kind of night that could really, really be flooded. It's not like Houston. For basically around here, your chances of like driving into 6 feet of water are pretty low. But if you're driving tonight, remember, you're not going to see standing water until it's too late. Just slow it down a little bit, especially if we're on the highways, because we suck at driving in the rain. People around here know that. And, oh, wow, we got a sub. Cool. Thank you for the sub. Love it. Oh, Kathy, we really appreciate the love. I do that so much. Renee, I know. Time, corporate America. Got to pay the bills, got to eat. I would love to. Roger, glad you're here. I would love to go back and doing more of the video stories. And I'm like trying to figure out how can we like do, TikTok snippets and rebroadcast it here in other areas. And remember VCRs. You need those. need those VCRs. Anyway, if you're worried about the trick-or-treaters, it looks amazing. Halloween looks friggin' amazing. Weather looks perfect. Ground's going to be a little soggy, but outside of that, the weather is perfect. We are not doing our haunted house this year. A, COVID. B, we've got projects that are going around the house that have just negated it. And C, I wouldn't have the time to set things up. The funny thing is we were joking about possibly setting up the graveyard this year. And I'm really glad we didn't, because if I did with the windstorm, I would just have been hating life over the weekend and Monday and Tuesday and running around chasing chasing headstones as they're blown away in the Rin. 405 South. Oh yes, that's a gnarly spot. You know what? And another spot is 405 North. As you come up to exit 24, that whole area is a kind of a shit show, Catherine. Both 405 North and 405 South, but 405 South is really, really bad over there. That's a good one to call out. These are the kind of just slow it down. The other thing is, because more people are commuting, if you got an early morning commute tomorrow, give yourself extra time. Traffic's picking up. It's still not anything like it was, but traffic's picking up, and we suck at driving in the rain, and someone probably going to just mess it up for everybody tomorrow. So if you're driving to work tomorrow, I would, just I'd go old school. I'd add 15 or 30 minutes and just do all right, well, I got here early. I can go buy myself a coffee, not corporate coffee, and enjoy life for 20 or 30 minutes, maybe do a little reading, and then do my thing and get into work. Or otherwise, it's all good. You get there when you want. Next, I want to talk about local politics. We decided as a board, we had a conversation about it. We are not going to endorse or make any recommendations in the Seattle races. The reason for this is multi-prong. The first reason is there's only two people on the board that actually live in Seattle. Everybody else doesn't, and we have two people on the board that don't even live in Washington. So the board felt to make a recommendation when a majority of the board doesn't even live in the city didn't sit right with us. That was the main driver, and we're not going to make a recommendation. The second reason that we didn't feel right, and the second reason we just didn't feel right is like, comes to politics, we're trying to be neutral. Like, is it our thing? And is it our thing to get into the Seattle race? And then ultimately we decided no, because when you look at our local coverage, most of our local coverage is on the east side or out of Seattle, right? There are other independent media organizations, Converge Media, South Emerald, right? They're focusing on Seattle and Seattle Gay News. We talk about LGBTQ IA issues. And we're partnered with two of those three, and we've done some sharing with South Emerald. So they kind of cover that lane, right? And that's the way we viewed it. But now we're going to talk about the east side. Yeah. We're going to talk about this. I wanted to talk about this Monday. Monday, total personal world problems, lost power, lost internet, not for long, but long enough that it screwed up real work with the clients on the marketing side of the house. And that just rippled into the rest of the day. And there was because the real work rippled late into the day, that made it very difficult to get a COVID update done, which then was rippling into actually doing the show. And it's like, I'm not doing a show. And the other thing was the weather was still shitty. And our internet was wonky. So I was worried I was just going to get on the air and still potentially lose power or lose internet. And it's just going to be a bad, frustrating experience for everybody. I wanted to talk about this on Monday. And I had assured people I would talk about this on Monday. So I appreciate your patience. Bellevue School District. There are two races. Basically, seat number 3, they call them director. Director District number 3, Director District number 5. These are really important races, Bellevue, because there are two people on the ballot, one for each race. One is just a full-on.
Press this.
We have a chud. Definitely have a chud.
Chud. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers.
Chud. It's a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
These are chud.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
A cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. A chud, all right?
Chud, 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 chud.
Yeah, one of them's just like an absolute chud. And the other one's kind of a closet chud. And I want to talk about the two races and the yes and the no's here. So the first race, Bellevue School District, number 405, Director District number 3. We have Joyce Shui and Fei Yang. Fei Yang has been an outspoken critic of critical race theory. What's interesting is, as this blowback really came on her, and there's other things that are problematic that she has written and discussed, and we will get into that. She has tried to kind of walk that back, going, well, I'm not really against critical race theory. I just don't like how the school system has rolled out their equity program. I'm like, don't gaslight us. We know what you said. Now you're trying to gaslight us because you're like, oh, wow, I shouldn't have said the quiet part out loud that I did. And I'm just calling it straight as I see it. Fei Yang has, as I said, expressed things about critical race theory, basically says racism doesn't exist, that everybody's got a fair crack at things. Full stop. She's first-generation immigrant. She has kids. So, and I'm a white guy up here calling her out. So I'm going to own my shit because it's why I'm like a little, as I talk about this. So I'm going to own my shit. But the views that she has expressed do not align with the broad population of Bellevue. They certainly do not align to the reality that systemic racism absolutely exists. And it's like this whole show's been around that for years at this point, and I'm like not going to rat hole on that. So in that race, Joy Shui, that's who you want to fill in the dot there. For Bellevue School District number 405, Director District number 5, you have Jane Aris and Greg Smith. Greg Smith has said where Faye is like problematic, Greg Smith is just a chud. He is just flat out said awful racist things. I'm not besmirching this like go look on Twitter or Reddit, or you don't type in his name in Google. Do your own research on Greg Smith, Bellevue. It's like, oh boy. No, I mean, again, I
Chud. It's a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
No. You want to take your number, you want to take your black pen or your blue pen, and you want to fill in the hole for Jane Aris in that race. Greg Smith is a big negatory. Hot mic. A chud? You're gonna watch chuds? Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. A chud, all right? I've actually never seen the movie. And for people to say the chuds are uncool, watch the last season of Rick and Morty. They made chuds cool again. End of discussion. There was a whole plot line in one episode that involved chuds. Oh, they weren't cannibalistic humans for copyright reasons. They were cannibalistic horse underground dwellers. Oh my God, watch. They don't have, because Facebook sucks and is evil. And we're just learning. I mean, I've said for years they're evil as a content creator on their platform, but now like we all know how evil they are. So, and what was with? I have to pull this picture up. Let me pull. I got to give you a sec. We're gonna sidebar for a moment. Give you a second here. We're gonna go up to our Twitter channel as we pull up the sidebar here for a moment. See, this is where I agree with Renee. It's like I wish I had more time to like just have this stuff like queued up on the buttons like back in the day and stuff. And so here, I'm gonna pull this up. Let's go ahead and switch over. Look carefully behind Zuckerberg's shoulder on the shelf, like right here. What the hell? What's with the bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce? That is distinctly a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Is that to make the lost souls that fall down the disinformation rabbit hole taste better? Does he get the souls and put a little Sweet Baby Ray's on there, smoked in QAnon and COVID disinformation, lathered in insurrection sauce as it's been slowly baked in a Russian oven for 12 months. And then you put a little Sweet Baby Ray's on top and you just consume the souls for their strength and power and vitality. What the hell is up with that bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's? I have two theories. I have two theories as somebody who's done video production and does photography. Theory number one is this just looks too perfect, this background and all. This screams studio when I look at this here. Like the books that are there and like what's with the barbecue sauce bottle is the book thing. It's like this screams studio. And I'm just kind of like, was there a different shoot going on? And like in that different shoot, somebody, all right, we'll just put it up here, and they forgot about it. And it's just been sitting up there. And in the video shoot, it just was never caught that there is a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's on the shelf. That's my theory number one. My theory number two is this was completely on purpose because they want people talking about it because it's like, see, and then people will talk about Meta. But notice I'm not talking about Meta. And people might forget on just how evil of a company we are. Let's remind people on just how evil Facebook is. Apple threatened to deplatform Facebook 2 years ago because Facebook is a human trafficking platform in the Middle East. And Apple was like, gross. And then Facebook was like, okay. So then Facebook told their moderators in the Middle East, hey, ixnay on the human trafficking day because Apple's looking. But when they stop looking, light touch. Go back to the way we're doing it. So yeah, Facebook's a human trafficking platform in the Middle East. Isn't that cool? The other thing that we've learned on how evil they are as a platform, as content creator, as people who follow the page, as people who watch things in the comments, one of the things is Facebook is like, we're dealing with
Chud. It's a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
And of course, we're like, no, you're not. What do you mean? So this is what happened. For individuals, they did crack down. But what they did is they moved to groups. And that's still the case today. And Facebook is doing almost nothing to enforce groups. We're not a group, we're a page. You're a group! No, we're a page. We're not a group, we're a page. And inside of the groups, disinformation, hatred, awful, terrible things continue to happen basically in the open. And then it's the people in the groups that then go out and brigade, it's an internet term, and share the shit posting and the information. And they get to do it basically with impunity. The third thing that we learned is that Facebook did a study in 2019. They created some fake profiles. I mean, you essentially would call them sock puppet accounts because they wanted to see what would happen. And two of the fake profiles they carried were both housewives, fake profiles, both housewives, both in South Carolina, both, millennials, both with a couple of kids, set up the pictures of fake profile. And here were the differences. One was a Republican conservative and followed 2 pages. Melania, Donald Trump. That's it. The other one was set up as a Democrat, liberal, and followed 2 pages. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. The conservative person was getting on their, suggestion. Hey, this is a suggestion just for you. How'd you like to join QAnon? Yeah. 2 days. And they were like getting suggestions to go down the rabbit hole in 2 days. The worst thing that was on the liberal side was like some meme of a dog's butt. And like some caption on it of like, this is where Donald Trump's ideas come from, or something like that. That was the basement for the liberal. And Facebook knew it. They knew it, like, because we want to understand what's going on. And so they did the study, and the people came back with the study, and they were like, holy crap. People are radicalizing conservatives. Wow, I've only been saying that for 3 years? And what did Facebook do? Yeah, thank you very much for that study. Thank you. Are you going to? Thank you. What are you going to do with that study? Thank you. What are you doing with the paper shredder? What do you? Oh, that's what he did. Evil company. And we're rethinking. People know they've been following me. It's like, I would just love to get off of Facebook. I would tell everybody to go to TikTok, but TikTok's almost as screwed. It might be even more screwed up than Facebook right now, from being a haven of disinformation and a wonderful site for white nationalism. TikTok is a bit of a dumpster fire. Twitter's not the right platform for us. Instagram, I'm with Meta and Zuckerberg still. It friggin' sucks. I hate it. And I wish there's something that could be wrong. Okay. Here we go. Enough of that. TikTok's bad. Okay. I have the weirdest TikTok thing going on right now. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because we did have a weird situation on Facebook. And we were able to figure out, the mods and admin team, we were able to figure what was going on and figure it out. There is on the buttons, there's a certain little clip that we don't use anymore because we figured out that whenever we use that clip, we got knocked off the air. And what was going on is that my voice is very, very close to the actor's voice in the clip we would play. And I would play the clip, but we would get knocked off the air. And we even experimented with it. I know that we played the clip, and the experiment they did was when Jennifer was co-hosting, it was like, I'm not going to say anything. Jennifer's going to talk right after the clip. I'm keeping my mouth shut. It's all Jennifer. And we weren't knocked off the air. So then we got to figure it out. Okay, we know what's going on. So they used fingerprinting. They're listening to the audio. This is how they do copyright detection. They're using fingerprinting. They're listening to the audio. They hear this clip. The clip owner's like, got to keep listening because we only use the short part. And the frequency, the range, whatever, like fits in. And they're like, they're like trying to play this whole movie. And they take us off the air like about a minute after we play the clip. And that's why I don't play the clip anymore. I have this weird situation on TikTok, and I'm really trying to give them the benefit of the doubt right now that this is what's happened. I made a 6-second TikTok. It's my voice. That's it. There's no sound effects. There's no background music. There's no voice change. I'm not singing. I'm not saying a quote. It's all original content in my voice and what I'm talking right now. And it has been muted with a copyright strike for using the content of a copyright holder. I've actually emailed them twice going, who holds the copyright on my voice? I really like to know. And one of the big things is where TikTok is a total dumpster fire is like their admin and review process for content. It's a total dumpster fire. The only platform I think that gets that right now is Twitch. Anytime I've had moderation or content issues with Twitch, I've been able to get literally get it fixed like that. When I've done DMCA requests on Twitch, it's like 10 to 50 minutes and it's done. I did have a lawyer write a letter for me, and I use that letter as a thing, and that letter is extremely effective. But I've shared that letter. Go, yeah, you could use it here. This is it. Fill out this form. It's amazing. It's boom. It just works. So anyway, apparently I sound like that. I have to look up I know everyone's like, who's the actor? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up. It's the one from the game show where he says, I'm like worried to say it. I'm gonna say it in a funny voice. I'm gonna say it in a funny voice so I don't get striked. What you just said may possibly be the most idiotic thing. Da 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 da. It's that little line, right? All of us are dumber or something like that for having to listen to it. It's that line. Apparently, I sound like that guy. I don't think I do. Lisa, the thing with YouTube, right? YouTube isn't short form. That's the problem with you, right? We need a platform that is long form and short form. And right now, the only platform that supports long form and short form, so not just long form video and short form video, but also written content, is Facebook. And Facebook is a friggin' dumpster fire, and they're evil. All right, enough of that. We talked about I want to talk about Rust. And the situation that happened in that movie. This is the Alec Baldwin situation, and the cinematographer Helena Heyer, who was killed, and the director who was critically wounded, shot in the shoulder. We've learned a lot today about this, and I want to talk about it because it's kind of an important subject to talk about. There's a reason that gun accidents on movie sets almost never happen, because there are very strict rules in place for video production, movie production, and the use of firearms in those environments. There are very strict rules. And so a lot of people's thoughts were, I know it was my thought when whoa, someone was, shot and killed, is obviously you're supposed to use blanks. You were never supposed to use live ammunition. What can happen, and this is what I thought had happened, and I know other people to suggest, one of the first suggestions was they were too close, right? A blank still has enough concussion energy that comes out of that barrel that there was an actor who essentially yeeted themselves because everyone thought, they kind of did it for a joke. They put the gun, they're like, I'm going to pull the thing, and it's a blank. And of course, people do stuff like that. There's always a little truth behind it. And the concussion it took him out, collapsed the side of his head. There's a lot of force that still comes out with a blank. People think blanks and they think cap gun. That's not blank. So that was one of the theories. And I wasn't in that camp because it wasn't another actor that this happened to. And I'm like, well, they're not that close. You have the camera, right? You've got a camera, right? If you have a cinematographer, you've got a camera between them. There's a minimum distance. It's like, that doesn't make sense. So the other thing that people were thinking was, if there's anything in the barrel of the gun, if there's any debris and you fire that blank, the force of the blank, because what's happening when you fire a blank, there's nothing there, so you still get the fire that comes out, and Marlo, oh my god, and the fire comes out, and if there's anything in that barrel, it's gonna push it out. And there has been some accidents where that's happened. Now, what's supposed to happen on a set, and I've done video production union environments, and I've done video production in non-union environments. I've never really done anything in weapons, but I know the rules. And what's supposed to happen on the set is you have an armorer. The armorer is supposed to report to the prop master. The armorer is responsible for the be-all, end-all of everything. So when a cold gun because, people say prop gun, but there are situations where people want a real gun, but a prop gun or a cold gun is a gun that has been rendered into a state that it is incapable of firing real ammunition. Or that's where it's supposed to be. It is possible you can have a real gun still capable of firing ammunition, but it's gone through all these safety protocols. It's on the armorer to make sure how the gun is loaded, that there is nothing in the barrel, that there's nothing here that can go wrong, and that blanks were used. Something that used to happen, this is part of what happened with Brandon Lee, when Brandon Lee had his accident. What used to happen is, to save money, and also because it was difficult to buy the blanks that would really create this look and reaction of a real gun firing, is they would modify live ammunition, and they would essentially turn them into blanks. That actually is also considered a no. That is like you don't do that. You buy blanks. That's it. And there's companies that make blanks specifically for video production. I know this is a big long to get to the punchline. After that gun is cleared by the armorer, the prop master is supposed to look at it. And then depending on the rules, it can be the prop master that ultimately hands the firearm to the actor, the talent, or it could be the armorer. It could be one or the other. That person who goes, and you're supposed to say cold gun, goes into the person, then everybody knows that there is a firearm in the set. Protocol also says that everybody is supposed to stop at that point, and there's supposed to be kind of a little safety briefing and a little walkthrough on, like, it's going to go through this one more time. This is how this is all going to go down. Any questions? All right, let's go shoot the scene. What have we learned? One, it was a practice scene. Practice scenes are not supposed to be shot with a cold gun. They should have been using a replica or a rubber gun. And they had them on the sets. They had both. So that's number one. It was a rehearsal. You are only supposed to have a cold gun when you are rolling film and it is the shot. No pun intended. That's number one. Here's the egregious thing we learned today. There were over 500, I say rounds loosely because this is really important, because you hear rounds and people think bullets. There were 500 rounds. There were some replica rounds. There were blanks. And there was live ammunition. There is not supposed to be live ammunition in video production, period. The end. Worse, the armorer that they had hired, non-union, her father's an armorer, has been an armorer for decades. There's been people that, there's a group that has production people in it, and somebody commented on the fact that she is a she and she is 24. And there's an ally in that group who commented that they take exception with it. Not that this person probably screwed up, and this is before we learned all this stuff today, but that the implication that somebody in their 20s is not competent enough to hold a high-level job. And number two, the second piece of this thing is that the implication that a woman is incapable of being an armorer. They did not come out and say that. I want to be really clear. But there is definitely this kind of implication. I like to remind people that there's people in the U.S. Air Force who aren't much older than 24, and they have keys to launch nuclear weapons. There are some people in their 20s who have heavy-duty responsibilities with big friggin' weapons, and they're very competent on what they do. The armorer was doing target shooting with live rounds and allowing some people in the crew to do target shooting with live rounds using the guns that were meant for movie production. That's mind-melting. The other thing that we've learned is that the assistant director, who should not have been the person to say cold gun, it should have been the armorer or the prop master. So they were already set up to failure. This person was already fired from another movie production in 2019 because there was an accidental discharge of a weapon that he was supposed to be the last line of defense. So he's already got a track record of effing up with guns. He was literally the last line of defense. He is the person that Cold Gun is supposed to. And the other thing where people are like, this is so egregious is it's a revolver. If there was live ammo in a revolver, it's pretty painfully obvious. So there's all these people are particularly on the political right because Alec Baldwin has been such a outspoken critic of Donald Trump. So you have ghouls like Candace Owens who just wants to see him arrested. And of course, Donald Trump Jr., because he talked bad about my daddy. He talked, 1 minute, I got to do my Donald Trump Jr. imitation here. I like it. Sorry, I was doing my Donald Trump Jr. imitation. There are folks that want his head on a plate. Who's at fault here? Ultimately, the law is going to figure this out. But if you want my opinion, you're going to get it even if you don't want it. One, the armorer. The mistakes, the violations of protocol are stunning here. It would be one thing if I had learned there were live rounds because they were making their own blanks. That would get a face palm. But there were live rounds because you're shooting them off using what should be cold guns that should be incapable of firing live ammunition. And as an armorer, with a father who was an armorer for decades, she should have known that. And I mean, this is how a mistake happens. Who's number 2 in the pain chain? The assistant director. But I think the culpability in the assistant director has shrunk because it is so egregious. What's interesting to me is I think Alec Baldwin's culpability and the director, who ironically was shot, and the director's name is escaping me, I think their culpability has grown. I find it hard to believe that they did not know that there was target shooting going on at the set before filming for the day using the guns that were for the movie. Even if they were like, no, we're not using the guns for the movie. There's no live. They just should have put the friggin' kibosh on it right there. Right. No. So the law is going to decide what the laws are going to say. Yeah, Carla, exactly. There is never, ever any reason for a live bullet to be on a video set. The only reason you would have live bullets on the video set is you are shooting a TV commercial for ammunition. And there's a box of ammunition. And then there's going to be no guns around. Baldwin was one of the producers, is the way that I understand it. He wasn't the only producer. He is one of the producers. That's what I understand. And I agree with Dora. The whole situation is a dumpster fire. And at the end of the day, a 42-year-old woman who only got into movie production in 2015, first generation from Ukraine, very promising career. She was considered a rising star. Mother, wife, 2 children, is dead. Director, who I think also bears some responsibility, bullet to the shoulder that put him in critical condition. It's just bad. Yeah, Roger, I know. They're not supposed to be a live bullet. The only other people that should have live bullets if you have armed security on a movie set. That's if you got commissioned security. That's it. There's no live rounds. It's just a terrible story. I went on that a little deeper than what I wanted. I'm going to do the I told you so, I think, second to last. Brazil, there was a study that was going on in Brazil. This is a really interesting COVID story. And they were doing a study in fluvoxamine. I don't know why I stumbled when I said it. Fluvoxamine is a antidepressant. It's cheap. It's readily available. It's really cheap. And one of the side effects of it is it's an anti-inflammatory and it reduces platelet production. And so it was identified very early on when we were in the early phases of COVID and they were like, we need something, right? And we started kind of throwing medically, I say throwing darts, that's very unscientific. But, we started looking in the medicine cabinet and going, what might possibly work here? And this is a medication that came up as a possible. They were doing a study in Brazil, 1,500 participants in the study, and the results were so promising that they've actually, like mid-study, are like, whoa, time out. This is actually having a pretty big impact on in early intervention of keeping people out of the hospital. I wouldn't say that this is as much of an impact as, say, monoclonal antibodies. But monoclonal antibodies are like $2,100, and this is like $7, and it's a pill, right? It's like, here, it's a pill. Take these pills. And it's really cheap. And it showed some promise. It is not a cure. It is not if you have moderate to severe COVID. Once you're hospitalized, how much good is it going to do at that point? But for early intervention, early symptoms, it reduces inflammation and it reduces platelet production. Why is the platelet production? That's what causes blood clots. And blood clots are very common with COVID, particularly if you get moderate to severe COVID. And if they can pull the plug, no pun intended, early on inflammation, because inflammation is what causes the fluid retention and leads to pneumonia and this whole it starts this chain reaction that can move you into the cytonic storm. And once you get into it, then you're in trouble, right? And so this actually has a fair amount of promise, and it's FDA approved, right? It's an FDA approved drug. It's been used for years. It's a known, and it makes you happier. So what's there to lose? Of course, because it meets all of these requirements, the anti-vax community is going to hate it. They're going to find some reason to hate this. Oh, no, you don't want this. Take the horse paste. Okay, but you really would have thought, this is worse. I'm seeing your comment, Kyle. I'm seeing your comment there. And it's like, yeah, you would think this is so more egregious than Brandon Lee. I mean, Brandon Lee was just a mistake, a terrible, awful, awful mistake. There was something trapped in the barrel. Yeah, Roger, I think that's a good way to put it. I'm seeing your comment there. Yes, they did, and they tested it in Argentina, and they tested it in another company, and right. And it's been a dumpster fire. It doesn't work. Like the whole Brazil thing, they like the ivermectin. Hey, everybody take ivermectin. And oh my God, everybody's dying. It doesn't work. Notice they don't like to talk about that. They don't like that. Look what they did in Bangladesh and India. Oh, you mean like how they figured out it doesn't work and they stopped giving it out in those two countries? You mean India where millions of people take ivermectin even before COVID hit? Because they take it as an anti-parasitic for what it was meant for in the first place. And so in theory, if you have millions of people already taking it prophylactically, then shouldn't have there never been COVID in India in the first place because it's supposed to prevent COVID? Oh, we don't like to talk about that. Let's talk about Israel and how the vaccine. Let's talk about the United Arab Emirates, which is 94% vaccinated, and then how, and well, it's just a little tiny. It's one of the biggest hub airports in the world is there. They have millions of people pass through there every month from all over the world. And they don't. I digress. Is it I didn't know it was Prozac. Seriously. That's when the name was familiar to here. Take some Prozac. I don't know. I think a lot of the anti-vaxxers would be take some Prozac. You won't get so bad as you're watching Fox News. Only God, Fox News is, we're going to run a 3-day special with Tucker Carlson to show you how the January 6th insurrection was an Antifa false flag. I'm not making this up. Still waiting for my paycheck. All right, we talked about that. No. We're gonna save that one for last. Because now we're gonna talk about some bad news and some bad news. We talked about COVID good news. I should have flipped it. Now we're gonna talk about COVID not so. We're gonna talk about COVID in news, and we're gonna talk about COVID not so good news. On the not so good news. In the UK, they have a variant. Interestingly, there's a couple of epidemiologists who have PhD next to their name. That one of them actually, did hey, journalists in the news do better. It's not Delta Plus. If you look even before this was said, if you go back and read like October 18, October 19, October 20, you could see that I was really struggling on what do we call this, right? And I was like, I'm going to call it, I wavered between Delta Plus AY.4.2 or Delta A. I think then I moved to Delta AY 4.2. They got a name on October 21st. It got a name. The UK Health Ministry declared Delta AY.4.2 a variant under investigation, which is, of course, this is below, variant of concern, or WHO designations. But it's reached enough to the point that it was like, okay, we want to understand this variant better, and we're giving it a name. So you ready for the name? It is COVID VUI-OCT 21-01, which is variant under investigation October 2021-1, the first VUI declared in October. So from forever forth, unless it gets a Greek alphabet name, we will be calling it COVID View 21, as in VUI-21. Right? So it's a little bit of a play on VUI. We're going to call it View 21. So now when I say View 21 or COVID View 21, then you know what I'm talking about. So it's View 21. Why is View 21 under investigation? It has a higher transmissibility rate than Delta Plus. This is why this whole thing about it's not Delta Plus. Because there's Delta, and then there's a Delta A1, A2, A3, and an A4 variant. This is a variant off of the A4 lineage, A4Y-2, with two particular mutations on the virus. And the first thing is it gives it increased transmissibility. It was a Dr. Mrs. Malcontent break. That was, I thought about Delta Plus, but I like View 21. I thought about plus, and I'm like, that's just lame. And I'm sure, no, everyone's just going to ignore View 21 or something. It'll come up with something else. Or even worse, some random person at CNN is going to start calling it View 21, and they never even seen our page. Oh, they're genius. It's View 21. I love it. Oh, go fuck yourself. Anyway, it is more transmissible by about 10 to 15%. Well, 10, 15%, that's not, but don't forget, that's 10 to 15% on top of something that has R naught of about 6. Now, the R naught of 6 assumes a completely unvaccinated population, of which even in the least vaccinated countries on the planet, right? There are still many places on the planet where literally only 1 or 2% of people are vaccinated. But it is an R naught of 6. So what's 10% of that? Well, 6.6. Well, that's terrible. What's been happening in the UK is it was 2% of cases, 4% of cases, 6% of cases. Now it's 10% of cases, and it went from 4, 6, 10. So it's on this 60% growth, and it's like a line. So in theory, the next jump, if it's at 16, then this gets a little more concerning. Well, why is it concerning if it's more transmissible? Let's break some things down. Number one, is it more vaccine resistant? No, it's not. And that's good news. But there's a little bit of an asterisk next to it. It gets a little hard to explain. Is it making people sicker? And the answer to that appears to be no. But there's a little asterisk next to that also. Remember what I've always said about what to look for in the next variant, right? 3 things that you should look for. First of all, it has to be more transmissible than the current dominant variant. Oop, we got that. Then the next thing you have to ask yourself is it is it deadlier? Does it create more complications, more problems? And it appears like the answer to that one is no. And then the next thing that you need to look at is, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on the 3 things. I've said this so many friggin' times. And the brain cell is just, I'm having an ADHD moment. And the brain cell literally just died because we're not doing written scripts right now because capitalism and the real job. Okay. There were 3 things that I remember too. We're just going to keep moving. Is it more transmissible? Does it make people sicker? Oh, that's right. Does it make people less? Does it make people less sick or more sick? And then how deadly is? These are the 3 things. So it's got one of the 3, but it has the most important one. It's more transmissible, and it's showing signs of growing. It's in 32 states in the United States now. No state is showing, there's no state that you can look at and go, and we're seeing this UK growth line. It is in Washington State. Washington State has the 7th most identified cases of View 21. Iowa's the leader. Iowa has, I don't know why Iowa, but Iowa has the most genomic sequencing confirmed cases of View 21. It's in Denmark, and it's in Russia. And Russia is having their worst outbreak. The other thing that's going on is Eastern Europe is seeing an explosion in cases. Turkey is seeing an explosion in cases, and of course the UK. And so you have multiple Eastern European countries that you have growth. It's been identified in Denmark. It's been identified in Russia. And of course, Russia we have to take with a grain of salt because we don't. How reliable is their data? How honest are they being? China is actually dealing with a pretty. They're trying to contain Delta in Beijing. It's not getting a lot of coverage, but China's actually got a pretty good bubble of Delta in Beijing right now. They're back to kind of like locking down and meaning they haven't locked the city down, but travel restrictions and everything in place there. Are those Delta Plus? That we don't know. We know Singapore, the cases are exploding. So this has the one key thing to become the next variant, that transmissibility number, and it's growing. And why do I think it's going to spread? Which kind of gets in, well, I'm starting to lead into the bad news. The reason I think that this is going to spread is because the United States is ending a lot of travel restrictions starting November 8th. The other thing that's happening, I just read the headline on this. The UK is, they're removing a whole bunch of international travel restrictions into the country. They're ending the rule, which is just, for where they're at, is stunning. It's stunning. And I read that today, and I'm just like, God, seriously? Because all this is happening right at the start of the holiday season. Is that late? Have I gone that long? It's only 9:30. I've only been on an hour. Oh, 9 is the new midnight. I'm like, it's midnight. I saw midnight. I'm like, it's not midnight. It'll only be an hour, and I'm almost done. October 20th, I wrote a story predicting there's going to be another wave. And I said that wave will probably start around Christmas time, towards the end of December. It's going to peak sometime in January and February. I actually feel that it kind of got ignored by a lot of people, to be honest. Sorry, I know I'm preaching to the choir. And I actually got some shit for it. And what's happened in the last 24 to 48 hours here in our state, is a growing list of health officials and hospital officials that are now going, we could be moving into a 6th wave. And they're expressing concerns about another spike that's going to come starting in December. The IHME forecast was adjusted for the state of Washington, and it shows a bump. I'm not going to call it a spike, but it shows a bump that gets close to the bump that we had. It's not as bad as the bump we're coming off of, because those numbers were actually higher than what we had in the winter of 2020 and January 2021. And the numbers look like they get close in February to the same time last year. That's what the IHMA forecast is showing. And that was their updated for it. And today, Governor Inslee was asked point blank about people starting to talk about 6th wave. And he confirmed that there is concerns over this. Now, if you actually go to our website and read, you knew about this 8 days ago. Anyway, if you did, you knew about it 8 days ago. I'm going to go ahead and put the link up. Give me 1 second here. Actually, let me drop the direct link so you can just go straight to it. That's not the link. I'm so glad I didn't paste that. That would have been horrible if I had pasted that. Doing some research, and it was an address. I'm so glad I didn't paste that, because then I would be like, what's that address? I'm like, oh, God. Now I'm in trouble. Now I've done it. I already talked about this last week. I'm going to talk. What do you do? Get vaxxed. Here's the bottom line. Remember how I said there's an asterisk next to, is it more vaccine resistant? No, asterisk. Is it, does it make people sicker? No, asterisk. The other thing, one of the reasons the transmissibility is higher is they believe, it's still under investigation, they believe the viral load is higher. And there's another study that just came out of the UK today, and I haven't had a chance to read it. So big grain of salt. We'll probably write about this on Monday after I have a chance to read this report. But there's another study that's come out of the UK that says the viral load produced by the unvaxxed and the vaxxed with the Delta and the Delta variants is equivalent. So if you have a breakthrough case, even if you're an asymptomatic carrier and you're exhaling, you are producing as much viral load as somebody who is unvaccinated. You produce it for a shorter period of time, about 3 days versus 6 days. And I'm kind of going off of memory on like skimming this for 30 seconds. That's why I say, don't quite hold my feet to the fire to all of these numbers. And this is why you get this asterisk. Viral load is ultimately what if you're exposed, the bigger the viral load, the more you're sucking in, the more you're rolling in COVID germs, and the more chance that you're going to get COVID. If you're immunocompromised, if your vaccine took the short bus high, like mine, like Johnson & Johnson, if you were vaccinated 9 months ago, right, and that effectiveness is kind of starting to drop, then viral load matters. So is it more vaccine resistant? No. But because the viral load is higher, your chances of getting sick hanging out with somebody who is a carrier is higher because you are sucking in more virus around that person. It's a hard concept. I guess what I'm trying to explain here is if all things were equal in a petri dish, it's all the same. But you are rolling in more germs with Delta View 21, or I should say COVID View 21. That's the difference. Well, how could that make that potentially, how does that potentially make someone sicker? That gets into the elderly, the immunocompromised, the vulnerable communities, because if they take in more viral load, they have a stronger reaction. So does it make you sicker in the petri dish? No. In the real world, if you suck in a whole bunch of this, then potentially it can. That's the difference. Here's the important thing. If you look at the UK numbers, cases are above where they were. Their case numbers are terrible. Big part of that too, lots of AstraZeneca vaccination in UK, and it's less effective than the Johnson & Johnson. It's a viral vector like the Johnson & Johnson. It is even less effective, and it actually has more side effects. And I'm at this point, I'm kind of glad that the US said pass on the AstraZeneca. I'm glad. UK did a lot. And the other thing is UK vaxxed up very, very fast. So you have a lot of people with that. So you have a lot of people that get a vax that doesn't do a good job with the variants in the first place. Viral vector, which isn't as effective as the mRNA vaccines. And they got it a long time ago. So this is a recipe for infections. If you look at the hospitalization and the death numbers, they're nothing like they were last year. Right? In the winter of last year, December, January, it's not even close. It's like nya versus nya. We have a TikTok. You can go to TikTok. There's a TikTok up there. It's a 3-minute TikTok. It's like, let's talk about what's in the UK. So you go to Malcontent News, TikTok, and something in there like, let's talk about the UK, or something is like the thing on there. It's a 3-minute video. There's graphs, there's charts. And the dumpster fire that TikTok is, anytime we do educational content on COVID, they don't put it in the FYP, so no one ever sees it. We're in an era of asterisks. I love that. We're in the asterisk era. So what do I think is going to happen? Everyone's going to get COVID. I'm convinced of this now. Everyone's going to get COVID. There are going to be a lot of people who are vaccinated who are going to get COVID and never knew they got COVID. They're not going to get sick, or they may feel like crap for a day or two and just write it off as a cold, or, they'll call it, people, I got the flu. I was sick. If you get the flu, you're sick for like 10 to 14 days. Flu isn't like 2 days. You have a lot of people with like who are vaccinated will have the 2-day flu. They had COVID. Everyone's going to get COVID, and you're going to be vaxxed or you're not. I'm convinced of this now. And what we're seeing, like Skagit County, numbers are bad in Skagit County. They're racking up over 600 new cases, 14-day moving average per 100,000 people. And they're at 58% vaccinated, total population. Those aren't good numbers. And this is where health officials are going like this, but it's tearing through the unvaccinated people, that 42%. That's what it's tearing through right now. And that's what I think is going to happen this winter. If we look at a state like Washington State with where we have a relatively high vaccination rate, we're 10th in the country. Last I looked, that could have wiggled to 9th or 11th. The last I looked, we were 10th in the country. And the gap between first place and 10th place is pretty narrow. We're also the most highly vaccinated state west of the Mississippi River. It's not even close. And I think that this next wave this winter is truly going to be a wave going through the unvaccinated. And that's who I think that's going to be hit. And of course, this doesn't bode well for a number of counties in eastern Washington. Everyone's got a date with COVID. And people are just going to have to figure that out. And we're going to have to figure out how to live with it. Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I, we went out to eat last night. I'm not going to say the place. Nobody checked our vaccine status. Full stop. The person that greeted us is the owner, and I know the owner knows who I am. I don't have a relationship with the owner, but I know for a fact the owner knows who I am. So afterwards, we were kind of like, I just was like, well, he knows me. So maybe that's why he never asked. I don't know. But I didn't see anybody else getting asked either. Which, of course, is concerning. I don't want it either. But I think we all got a date with it, Urs and Nate. We all got a date with it. I don't know what to tell you. We all have a date coming up. But again, I don't think they're checking anything. But Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I know people aren't going to agree with what I'm going to say right now. If you're a chud, you're going to like this. So now in King County, because if you go into a restaurant or bar, you're supposed to have it checked. I've gone to 2 places so far. No one's ever looked at it. But you have to wear a mask on the way in and you have to wear a mask on the way out. But once they check it, you can take the mask off. And we're just like, this is ridiculous that you put on the mask for 5 seconds and you put on the mask for 5 seconds to walk out. It's not even the issue of I don't want to wear the mask. It's just, and I get it's the county rule versus the mask mandate of the state, and it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any flipping sense to me. I'm like, if you're checking for my vax, but again, they didn't check for my vax. You're checking for my vax for me to sit my happy ass down. And then once you verify my vax, I literally can just peel the mask off of my face. And I only have to put it on to walk out the door and walk in to sit at my table and then walk out the door. It doesn't make sense. Thank you, Rachel. That's it. It's like, you know what this is doing? This is getting my fingers on the mask if I don't practice proper mask protocol. Because I use N95s and I'm not going to take my N95 mask because I put it on for 5 seconds to walk in somewhere and then 5 seconds to walk out somewhere and throw it in the trash can. But this on and off, this cycling on and off thing, it's just bizarre to me. It really is. It's just like, if you're checking the vax and you're looking for tests and you're actually enforcing it, then it should just be mask optional. And again, I have a feeling some people are like, no, and I respect that. But then I think it should be mask optional. Now, if you're not in King County, if you're in Snohomish, no, you should be wearing your flipping mask because they're not checking, right? It's a King County thing where they're checking. Rachel, I've been seeing that. Totally been seeing that. Ursula, and generally that is my view. And again, I don't want to say what the restaurant is. And the only reason I'm pausing is because I know the owner knows who I am. And I know the owner knows what I do, and I know the owner knows my position, and I generally believe the owner of that place is a good guy. So what I don't know is, did we get a hall pass because it's just, he's vaxxed. He just wears it on his friggin' sleeve. He's worse than a vegan with the vax. Have I talked to you about going gluten-free and being vegan? You know, gluten's bad. Shouldn't eat gluten. I'm so much better after I gave up gluten. I'm channeling South Park. I am not mocking people with celiac disease, which is a very serious illness. Okay. Remember I said we're gonna try to end on something, and I do. Look, I freely admit it. I wear my vaccination status like I'm a recent gluten-free vegan who rides a bike to work and just found Jesus. I freely admit it. So I would say certainly in the local area around here, people know. Anyway, let's talk about, it's not a good story, but it's certainly on a better note. And at least we can ruthlessly mock somebody. If you don't know who the name Micah Beals is, there's irony here. Micah Beals is a bit of a bit actor, a bit. He's been on Parks and Recreation, and here's the irony. Are you ready for the irony? He's been on CSI New York. You know where this is going, because I'm already laughing. I can barely get this story out. He's an actor who been on CSI New York. He hasn't been on Law and Order. And I actually thought that anybody who was an actor with a SAG-AFTRA card has done a Law and Order episode, but apparently He's one of two that have it. I have a friend, very, very dear friend I went to high school, lives in New York City. She's a professional opera singer. She is a professional actress. She's done, small parts. And that's one of her jokes. I'm the only actor in New York City who has never been on a Law and Order episode, even as an extra. And apparently there's another, Micah Beals. Micah Beals was also a January 6th insurrectionist. Yeah. And not only was he a January 6th insurrectionist, but he managed to get himself arrested on January 6th. That's impressive. He was arrested for breaking curfew. But of course, if he was still out on the street hours after they had called for the curfew, you know, and I know, and they know, and Micah knows, he would do it more than just breaking curfew. But January 6th insurrectionist. Well, he'd been arrested, obviously. Not for the insurrection shit. He already been arrested for that. You remember in New York City, George Floyd's statue got vandalized? Somebody dumped paint all over it and the base of the statue? Yeah. It was Micah. It was this guy. SAG-AFTRA actor who was on CSI New York. He already in trouble for being a January 6th insurrectionist. Now he can go ahead and add a hate crime, federal hate crime to that shit pile of problems that he's got. But yeah, here's the other amazing thing. He did it in broad daylight. It's all on security camera. He did it on broad daylight. He rode in on a skateboard. He's like almost 40. And there's something a little weird about somebody that's skateboarding the streets at that age to me. I get it's New York City. I get it. I mean, I used to go there all the time. I loved it. When I was working, it's my last like corporate gig, and I was going to New York every 6 weeks. Total sidebar for a minute. I would jog in Manhattan. And I love, especially the weekends. Sunday morning, 6 a.m., and you're jogging Manhattan, and like, there's like no cars. There's no. It's almost surreal. It's really cool. Totally. Well, I would say he's a little boned now with this, and I agree. Of course, they did everything in broad daylight. We all saw it. Oh, no. It was a false flag by Antifa, and Tucker Carlson has receipts. Fucking ass clown. I know. I don't know. It's just a little weird for me. I know. I probably just pissed off millennials. I skateboard in the streets. I don't know. It's a little weird to me. But anyway, just skates on by. He's got some kind of container, and he just splashes it and then skateboards away. So the other thing that the video kind of shows is like this wasn't a, this wasn't like a, I didn't mean to do it kind of thing, or I had a moment of weakness. I was stupid. This was a, oh no, I premeditated this. I had my prepared container, and I skateboarded by, and I did a whoop thing, and the end. In-N-Out has agreed to take out only. Very cool. By the way, In-N-Out does not have Let's Go Brandon on their cups. I saw a couple of posts where people were really pissed off, because they're like, oh my God, In-N-Out is now putting Let's Go Brandon, which is code for fuck Joe Biden, if you didn't know, on their. That's not true. It's from a Babylon Bee satire article. Come on, people. Even DuckDuckGo will tell you that. Do your own research on DuckDuckGo. Even DuckDuckGo will tell you Babylon Bee is satire. I skated up to my 50s, and I'd do it again when I get my joints replaced. All right, right. Y'all putting me in my place. Okay, it's not weird. I'm sorry. I wouldn't get a skateboard at this point. Anyway, he gets the Micah Beals is going to get the CSI New York treatment. It's so ironic. I don't think this is going to do much for his acting career, unless he wants to do something with Kirk Cameron and Oh my God, I can't think of her name. She's a total anti-vax chud now. Help me out, y'all. Let's go, David. Who's the actress? She's like 45. She was real popular in a TV show. She's like a total anti-vax religious chud now. She has this thing on TikTok. No, it's not her. Not Gina. No. Gosh darn it. She has like, this TikTok has been viewed like 3 million times when she's like, anyway, I can't think of her name. Maybe he'll do a movie with her. I appreciate the woe and sadness for the Red Sox. Quite frankly, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. Like back in March, Red Sox Nation, we were like, we just won a 500 team. Like everybody I know that were Red Sox fans back in March were just like, please not a losing season. Can we just get 81 wins? Please. Like people were like, this is a 70-win team. That's how we went into the season. We didn't go. We made the Astros work for it. We didn't punk out. So, I think it's good. We'll see. The Seahawks. I'm sorry, y'all. You could stick a fork in that season. By the way, did let's do some late breaking sports and piss off the NFL and possibly get a content strike. Oh, the Cardinals are no longer undefeated. The Packers beat the Cards. That was the big thing I was wondering tonight. So there you go. Packers beat the Cards. No, it's not her. It's not Susan there it is. Candace Cameron. That's it. Candace Cameron. That's it. Yes. Kirk Cameron, Candace Cameron, and Micah Beals, and a direct-to-video movie about the rapture. I don't get my medical advice from Jenny Carter. I am so not shocked that Suzanne Summers is anti-vax. When I saw some interview where Suzanne Summers said that she was doing daily hormone injections right to the vajayjay, it was like encouraging other people to do this. Like right to the money. First of all, it sounds excruciating. Like first it's like, wait a minute, I did not just hear what I just did here. Let me rewind this. You can go look it up. I'm not making this up. This was not a fever dream. Roger's very happy about the Green Bay. Is Lisa Wenchel, is she anti-vax? Is Lisa Wenchel anti-vax? Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, I think we kind of covered everything we would cover, and I think actually we had a shit ton to cover. Right, if you think about it, we got Rainstorm from Hell, Black Coffee, lots of COVID stuff, BS Biden election next week. The last thing I'm going to close with, vote. Please vote. If you're from Seattle and you didn't vote from the primaries, please vote in the general. And by the way, if you don't like your picks of candidates in Seattle and you didn't vote in the primaries, shut the fuck up. 42% participation. You have no ground to stand on to complain about your friggin' choices if you didn't vote in the primary. None. All these candidates suck. There were like the mayor race. There were so many and qualified people. And at least what I would say, because we interviewed a bunch of people, I would say there were probably 6 people that if they had become mayor, because we'll find it, we're down to 2, but there were about 6 people in my brain that if they become mayor, I just wouldn't be like burying my face in my hands going, oh, you've got to be really, really, you had like 6. And that's all I'm going to say. I have opinions. I have such strong opinions in the race. It's really hard, but the board has said keep my app shut. So keep my app shut. Got strong opinions. But please vote. That's the bottom line. Oh, of course, Rachel. We love having you here. Tonga has its first case. Nah, I'm not. Joy, I'm not. Because it's a board decision, and if I'm just like, then I'm no better than I'm no better than Trump. I'm going to go all Trump on your ass. I think in that particular race, I think it's actually a little bit of a no-brainer. That one, I don't feel like I'm throwing anything there. I think that one's a little bit of a no-brainer. So, but vote. Regardless, it doesn't matter where you're at. Just vote. Please vote. Please educate yourself before you vote. They're up on the website. We have for both Lorena Gonzalez and for Bruce Harrell. We have their interviews and the transcripts. They're on our website. You can go back, rewatch those videos, listen to those transcripts. We have we did reach out to Ann Davison campaign. Ann Davison campaign reached back out to us. They have respectfully declined not to be interviewed, citing they don't have the time and it's too close to the end of the race. I'm just relaying what they said. I'll give it to them. It was pretty close to the finish line when we approached them to go, hey, do you want to come on the show? So, it is what it is. I'm just going to say. But I'm glad that brain cell popped in my head because I did tell them that we would follow up, when we did ask for a statement. No, Joy, I'm not putting spin on that. I want to be really clear. Like, if they were a-holes about it, Joy, I would just say, they sent me a terse letter to go F myself. If that's what I got, that's what I tell you. They respectfully declined. I don't really have to fear. They'd have been asked the same set of questions. There was only one thing. There's only one thing, and I think they know that. Is like, explain to me how you prosecute felonies at the city attorney's office. Explain this to me. And how this is somehow becomes magically constitutional by the state constitution. Explain that. I really want to understand that. So, what's your legal basis for this? So, but Joy, very seriously, no. There was, I got like a paragraph. I didn't get like one sentence. It was respectful. I think I was given, it's reasonable. We should have asked sooner. That's on me. I've been busy as hell, but it should have been me. Roger, there's a lot, unfortunately, that, your choice is between, Chud A or Chud B. Because there's been a whole lot of, the QAnon folks that they're trying to do the bottom-up strategy. It worked very well in a certain country in the 1920s and early 1930s in Europe. And that's what they're trying to do here. You can always do a write-in. You don't like what's there? You don't like, I've done write-in votes. I voted for Hillary for president 3 times. You can kind of figure that out. No, Bothell, you got choices in Bothell, Catherine. You got not everybody. No, you've got some good progressive candidates in Bothell. They're definitely chuds. Definitely chuds. But you have some good progressive candidates, and you have some progressive candidates that I think have a crack in Bothell. So, you definitely got some choices in Bothell. I actually think we're, oh God, that would be hysterical. If I saw the malcontent, that would be a riot. I will say, I think we're pretty lucky here in Kirkland. For the most part, everybody, of the people I see running are, we have 2 incumbents. We have 2 that are running unopposed. Everybody that's running is sane, coherent, can articulate their positions. And I continue to say, I feel that Kirkland is a well-run city. I've had people say, why won't you run for office? And I'm just like, I don't want to subject myself to the bullshit. It's not as glorious or wonderful as people think it is. I don't think I would win because people don't like having reality put in their face. They want to be told nice things in a nice way, and that just doesn't go over here. And then the final thing is, I wouldn't have a platform. I wouldn't. Well, you have I'm like, but when I understand the guardrails of what a city council can do, because the city council is hemmed in by King County rules and state rules and federal rules, and they have to operate within all of those rules. So there's actually very little that can get accomplished, and it's very incremental. And when I kind of look around at Kirkland, it's like, yeah, I want to see more equity, right? I think Kirkland does a better job than other cities on the east side, and I still think we have a massive way to go as a city. But I'm a Gen X Jewish white guy. I would rather put my support behind a BIPOC candidate and have the BIPOC person fight for equity than me come in as a white ally speaking for the BIPOC voices. Because if there's anything I took away from Chop, Chaz, summer of 2020, they need to lead. We need to support. There's a couple of people in the area that I think, when the time is right, when there's some opportunities, when there's some incumbents in the Kirkland City Council that go to retire or potentially run for higher office to move out of the council, I think there would be some doors open for a BIPOC candidate, and I think there's a real opportunity for it. And I would support, as long as they can articulate their positions, they have a plan, it makes sense. They have a rough understanding. They don't have to be a constitutionalist. Rough understanding of what can and can't be done. I'm all behind them. Anyway, that's my view. It's just not my job. My job is just shit post on the internet and come on here twice a week and shit post over the air. I'm going to write in Mr. Malcontent. That'd just be... Maybe next governor's race, I'll just do a thing. It'd be hysterical. Just, good space guy, the Malcontent. Get at, I ran for governor. Let me look here. Get on the things. Malcontent has 47%. What? Oh, shit. I could just God, there's 4 news crews outside in front of my house. Now, what are you going to do is get it. I don't want to be governor. It was a joke. But it was a joke. This was a mistake. I have made a terrible mistake. What are you going to do first? I'm going to go inside and throw up. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I was given some pills before I started running for my blood pressure, and it also has anti-anxiety built into the pills. I think I have some of those left. I'm going to go take a handful of them to go deal with the anxiety level that I'm at right now, and I'm probably going to throw up again. That's what I'm going to do. The malcontent. All right, everybody. Be good to each other. Trick-or-treaters. I think you're cool. I do. I think you're cool for, if it's just kids coming to the door. If you're immunocompromised, then wear a mask. Right? But I think if it's just kids coming to the door and you're just dropping the candy in and you're wearing a mask, go buy your candy. Turn on the lights. I think we're cool for trick-or-treating. I really do. I guess that's the last thing I want to say. Have a good Halloween. Be safe. Extra commute time tomorrow morning. Give yourself extra time. It potentially could be a shit show with all the rain. And be good to each other and vote. I know on Monday, I'll be going vote. Monday will be vote. Go vote. Vote. It's important. And if you didn't vote in the primaries, you're stuck with who you picked, and shut the fuck up about it. And you should have voted in the primaries. And with that, Malcontent, out.
You're the white devil, bitch! Damn!
Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontent Antifa. Fuck you.
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter.